Good afternoon. Ron Rapp from the California Federation of Teachers. We have a strong oppose on this bill. As a former teacher of 10 years in 3 states, also as a graduate student supervising student teachers, I can walk into a classroom and tell you whether or not this teacher is going to be a good teacher or need assistance or needs to find another profession. So we believe that the current law concerning the length of time a probationary certificated employee needs to complete before achieving permanent status is sufficient. We believe that 2 years of successful teaching is enough time for a school administrator to determine whether or not a teacher should achieve permanent status and thus gain due process rights if the administrator conducts fair and accurate evaluations of the certificated employee over that period of time. That's why this teacher evaluation conversation is so important, and we want to make sure that we get it right so that administrators are conducting fair, accurate teacher evaluations on a consistent basis. And so that's what we need to address. We believe that there is absolutely no legitimate reason to change existing law as it pertains to this issue. In addition, as my colleague mentioned, we strongly oppose the provision of the bill that would allow for a district to take away the permanent status of a certificated employee at any time based upon ratings on teacher evaluations. Permanent status provides the employee with certain due process rights to prevent arbitrary and capricious dismissal practices. Once achieved, this status should not be taken away from a certificated employee based upon evaluation ratings. And for these reasons, we have a strong oppose on AB 1248 and respectfully encourage your no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the public in opposition.
Mitch Seaman, California Labor Federation, also opposed.
Luciano Ortiz, second grade teacher, 20 years experience, and I oppose this bill.
Peter Manette, kindergarten teacher, Nevada County, 21 years in public education, opposed.
Pat Mazzulli, high school science teacher, Fontana School District. I oppose this bill. I fear the erosion of due process and the possibility of age discrimination. I'm a veteran teacher of over 20 years.
Thank you.
Dale Kennedy, Kings Canyon Unified School District, and I oppose this bill.
Ann McCaughey, Stockton Teachers Association and defender of due process. I oppose.
David Eliezer, Martinez Unified School District. I oppose AB 1248.
Amy Vadunas, Cupertino Union School District, and I oppose.
Anita Johnson, Mount Diablo Education Association, oppose.
Dawn Kova, special education teacher in the Pittsburgh Unified School District, I also oppose.
Melissa Rosnack, Brentwood Union School District, I oppose.
Claire Key, Mount Diablo Unified School District, I too oppose.
Linda Ortega, a person who has been on a dismissal panel and also on our locals PAR panel. I oppose this bill.
Bill Murphy, second grade teacher, Livermore Unified, and I oppose this bill.
Shantaine Fauntleroy, Hayward Unified School District, I oppose.
Charles Shannon, Orinda Union School District, 25 proud years veteran of education, I oppose.
Ann Katzberg, San Ramon Valley Unified School District, kindergarten teacher, 26 years teaching, and I oppose.
Brandon Dorsey, first grade teacher, I oppose.
Sarah Savacool, high school teacher, Antioch Unified, I oppose. Erin Roselli, kindergarten teacher, Orange Unified, I oppose.
Amy Laughlin, intervention teacher, Savannah School District, and I oppose.
Erica Jones, kindergarten teacher, South Los Angeles, and I oppose.
Cecily Meyer Cruz, Los Angeles Unified School District, and I oppose this bill.
Kenneth Kent, fifth grade teacher, Antioch Unified School District, I oppose this bill.
Liz Waterman, fourth grade teacher, Terabella, I oppose this bill.
Seeing no further opposition, any members of the committee wish to comment? Ms. Kim, yes?
Just briefly, I appreciate everyone who came here to speak, both in support and opposition, but I think I just want to make a quick comment. We all appreciate
the teachers, because as a mother of 4 kids who have sent all my kids to public school system, I value your profession and what you have done to make a great influence in my children's life, who are, by the way, all grown up and doing very well. And I applaud the teachers for having played a key role in that. And what we're discussing today is requiring teachers to achieve 3 years of successful evaluation before seeking a permanent status, before you get the permanent status for the tenure program. What I'm very curious today is that from 2 years, we're asking 1 more year of the teachers going through the evaluation process. If we're asking you to be evaluated, if you are an effective teacher, I believe this would also provide an opportunity to continue to do what you're doing, which is providing quality teaching to all our children. 1 more year, I don't know if it makes that much difference, because you come into this teaching profession with the commitment to stay in that profession because you love that job. And so I don't know what the real concern is. And another interesting observation today is many of you who came here, I see that you are teachers and administrators. And if I'm not mistaken, we're in the middle of the school week. Today's a school day. You should be in your respective schools. So I don't know, are you taking a personal vacation coming up here? I just wanted to make that observation.
Was that a question?
No. Oh. Thank you, Ms. Kim.
It's an observation, but...
Ms. Kim, just so you know, teachers don't get vacation. With that, any other members of the committee wish to speak? Ms. Weber.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank Mr. Chavez for bringing up this subject. And there's some pieces of it I like and pieces I don't like. And so I want to express that. And I wish this had come earlier so that we could have made those recommendations to revise the policy. I don't like the idea of taking away tenure because I think once you earn it, you have it, but people can be terminated. And it should not be seen as a statement of permanence, that we somehow have this to just shield folks and they can go off into la-la land, but they still have to perform, and they should be evaluated. You know, I've lived all of my professional life, 40-some-odd years, with a tenure system, and not only had tenure, but worked to get tenure for others. But I do find our current system of tenure irrefutably flawed. And I do because I served as a school board member. And as a school board member, the most difficult task I had was actually seeing people in the system for only 12 to 18 months and getting a letter saying that you're not an effective teacher. Now, in some cases, they weren't. But in many cases, what they needed was more time. And having lived through a tenure system at the university, I know that it is impossible to actually make a life decision on a person in a profession in 18 months. And that's not 18 full months. That's 10 months of 1 year and a few months of the next year. So we're making a difficult decision. And I understand that people want to be able to say, cut you off, and administrators don't want to do the evaluation. But I used to tell my administrators, that's what your job is about. And that's why you make more than a teacher, to make the hard decisions. And if you can't do that, then maybe we shouldn't be paying you more than we pay teachers, and that's probably true. But aside from all of that, our system needs more dialogue. And some of you may have read my editorial on Sunday in the paper about tenure, because it's not about getting rid of tenure. It's about basically an evaluation process that allows folks to enter the profession, get the support they need, so that we then have a time frame to basically make a good decision, that we have done the best we can. And what I've seen occasionally is people turn out of the profession who could have been better teachers. And we don't even have the safeguards in place, because for me, in order to deal with a situation of 18 months or 14, whatever the number turns out to be, you have to have even the person in the same place long enough to be able to make that decision with the same administrator. I got involved in the case because a young man had been skipped around every semester to a different school wasn't given adequate support at either one of the schools, and at the end, surely the administrator was like, I don't know what they can do. And it was very frustrating that we were going to terminate this young man. The only way I could save him was to ask him to resign. And he resigned. We hired him back later on, and he was became one of the best music teachers we had in San Diego. But it took time, and so I was frustrated with our system that didn't have enough meat in it and enough time in it to accommodate this whole process, and it put administrators in difficult positions to make hard decisions in a short period of time. And it is a flawed system. Now, we can try to protect tenure, and that's fine, we should, because tenure allows us to be professionals without having to be, in terms of having your integrity challenged regularly and being able to do things and what have you. And so that's not, for me, that's not an issue. It is an issue of time frame and process. And I really don't think we can, every now and then we make a great decision, but I don't think we can with certainty as professionals, and I've been in the teaching profession for over 40 years, as a professional, I cannot defend a process that is, say, 14 to 18 months long, that I could really make a good decision at that time. And I think, and that I could even get involved in helping a person enough as they're entering the profession, trying to figure out their classes, trying to figure out what the school is about, trying to figure out what's going on. I see new teachers struggling to get all these things together very quickly, and then if I'm going to walk in and say in 6 months you got to be a whole lot better, you know, they're still struggling. They're still struggling in many schools because we don't often have the resources we need to help them. And so, I like aspects of it. I hope this conversation continues at some point. I couldn't support this as it is because I wouldn't take away the tenure piece. But I surely know that 18 months is not enough.
Can I respond briefly, Mr. Chair?
May I respond to that? Thanks, Seth.
Yes, you may, Mr. Chavez.
Thank you. Assemblymember Everett, I'm willing to work with you on that. And I'm willing to strike that whole sentence because I think we're on a journey. We're not trying to get to the destination today. So if you're willing to, I'll take my word here that I will strike that component, keep the issue of the 3 years, and hold school districts accountable for professional growth and remediation. I'm willing to work with you with this bill and move it forward today. Happy to strike that portion.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Any other committee members wish to comment? Let me just make a comment. Public school teachers, okay, it's been moved. Public school teachers actually don't get tenure. What they get is non-probationary status. College professors get tenure. Nowhere in the education code will you see the word tenure. They get non-probationary or permanent status. And once they get that status, that doesn't mean that they can do anything. They do not have a job for life. They are still evaluated. They are still laid off. They are still let go for poor performance. Okay, so I just want to set, that framework there. And if you just go back the last 8 years, all the new hires have been temp because of the financial situations, at least where I come from. So no one's even been granted, I wouldn't say no one, but by and large, very few have been granted permanent status. So as we go forward and we look at the coming teacher shortage, these are questions we're going to have to explore. So I do appreciate you bringing up this conversation. With that, I believe we had a motion from Ms. Kim. You moved it.
I moved it.
Yeah. Do you have a second?
You can say.
I can second.
Mr. Chavez seconds. Go with that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'd like to make a substitute motion.
Yes.
And ask that we be this also be sent to interim study.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Can I make a comment to that?
One moment. Okay. You can make a comment to the motion. You have to speak to the motion. But it's been moved and substitute has been moved and seconded by Mr. Sanio. You may speak to the motion only, Mr. Chavez.
I speak to the motion.
Yeah, and you can close at the same time. How about that?
Okay. I'll just make it because it's a long day. This interim move we saw by the last 3 bills is clearly an action just to not face tough decisions. But I just caution you on this. Just because you can does not mean you should. At some point, we're going to have to deal with this. And your vote today actually shows that you would rather play games than deal with the hard issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Madam Secretary, please call the roll. It is a substitute motion to move the item to interim study.
O'Donnell?
Aye.
O'Donnell, aye. Chavez?
No.
Chavez, no. Kim?
No.
Kim, no. McCarty?
Aye.
McCarty, aye. Santiago?
Aye.
Santiago, aye. Thurman?
Aye.
Thurman, aye. Weber?
No.
Weber, no.
The bill is out. Thank you.
The motion.
The motion passes. I'm sorry. The motion passes. The bill is not out. Let me be clear. With that, Ms. Weber, we have item number 34. This is file item number 34, AB 1495. Ms. Weber, you may begin. I'm sorry? 34, actually 33. Oh, you know, we're on 1495, correct? 33 was pulled. 33 was pulled. So we're going to, I apologize, we're going to move straight to item number 34. Okay, I'm sorry, your notes don't reflect that. But that item, file item 33 was pulled. That's AB 1494. 1484, rather. And then we're going to file item 34, AB 1495. Ms. Weber, you may begin.
It's on now.
It should
Thank
be
you. I almost say good evening, but good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. I'm pleased to be here today to present to you what I consider to be the best teacher evaluation bill we'll see this year, AB 1495. I appreciate the committee's careful analysis and want to suggest to the following technical clarifying amendments to issues raised on page 4 and 5 of the analysis. And so please refer to your handout. First, to eliminate the unintended new term unsatisfactory conduct on page 4 of the bill, line 27, insert unprofessional before conduct. Second, a related technical clarification regarding participation in PAR and dismissal process on page 4 of the bill, line 38, after the reference to section 44673. Insert the clause, and, quote, the rating exclusively relates to the areas of teaching methods or instruction. Third, to address the issues raised on page 5 regarding the prioritizing professional development on page 5 of the bill on line 7. Insert, quote, applicable before professional. Let me be very clear. This is not a bill about firing teachers, because I've heard that circulating around, and it's not a bill about firing teachers. AB 1495 makes important changes relating to teacher and principal evaluations by adding a new article to the end of the Stoll Act, which is the law of evaluation of certificated staff, teachers, and principals. The bill makes 4 specific changes to improve evaluations, encourages full compliance, and makes them useful tools for teachers and administrators to support our public schools' central mission of advancing student learning. First, as seen on page 1 of the committee analysis, AB 1495 codifies an illustrative and permissive list of multiple measures of student progress that may be reasonably included in evaluation if applicable. The bill makes it clear in California, the evaluation of certificated employees does not rely on a single test score. In establishing examples of pupil progress, AB 1495 helps to clarify that under current law, school districts have multiple measures from which to gauge evidence of student progress as the mandatory student learning component. AB 1495 leaves intact the other minimum components required to be considered in the evaluation and assessment of employee performance already in current law, including instructional techniques and strategies, adherence to curricular objectives, and establishment and maintenance of a suitable learning environment. Second, AB 1495 recognizes that a best practice in job performance is to establish multiple rating levels. Accordingly, AB 1495 requires the final evaluation incorporated at least 3 performance levels to better identify struggling staff. Under current law, districts are only required to identify employees as satisfactory or unsatisfactory, and staff identified as unsatisfactory are subject to mandatory annual evaluation, possible corrective and adverse action, and even dismissal. As a result, districts rate the overwhelmingly majority of staff as satisfactory. AB 1495 addresses related concerns by identifying staff as below satisfactory and needing improvement, but not performing in a manner so poorly that justifies an adverse action or dismissal under the unsatisfactory rating, in essence, a kiss of death. Accordingly, AB 1495 specifies 2 rating levels must be below the meeting satisfactory performance standard. And the bill disconnects the rating of simply needs more development from an overall rating of unsatisfactory performance that could lead to dismissal. In requiring at least 2 rating bands below satisfactory, AB 1495 provides an opportunity to more carefully identify and confer with struggling employees and offer appropriate remedial development and assistance without the fear of potential dismissal proceedings. Third, to change practice and not just words on paper. AB 1495 connects local evaluation system outcomes and identification of struggling staff needs help with available resources in a meaningful way to support employees who can benefit the most from professional development to become truly effective educators and support the academic achievements of all students. With the suggested technical clarification, AB 1495 would provide the district considered employees eligible for struggling staff in already identifiable and applicable local professional development resources and establish priority eligibility for support from applicable professional development resources appropriate in the annual state budget. AB 1495 also assures that if the State Board of Education develops guidelines of evaluation, that process is open and public and allows Administrative Procedures Act. This is common sense transparency provision designed to provide all local school districts, teachers, parents, and the public with a meaningful opportunity to participate in the adoption of state regulations to ensure that regulations are clear, necessary, and appropriate. In closing, AB 1495 provides a structure and identifies resources to appropriately recognize the efforts of all certificated employees, identifies struggling staff in a way to promote improvement without the fear of being on a fast track to dismissal, and prioritizes limited applicable professional development resources to target the staff that would benefit the most from additional training and assistance. This bill is a timely and meaningful addition to current law, particularly when there appears to be a significant additional resources in the nearby horizons. Effective teaching is central to the mission of our schools, and we need to develop and support a cadre of teachers who are excellent and committed to the excellence of the students. But to make this happen, the current system needs to change. We have the resources, now we need to do something about it, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote. I have with me today some speakers who will introduce themselves and make their presentations.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Lucia with Ed Voice. We strongly support this bill. We'd like to underscore several things that were brought up, and most importantly, that this body of law in the last 40 years has only been changed significantly about 3 times. About 19 years ago, one of the most significant things that was done was to put everybody under the cloud of angst by saying that if you did get a rating of unsatisfactory, that as a matter of law in California now constitutes part of the due process file that has to be included in charges and allegations brought to you for unsatisfactory performance for purposes of adverse action that can lead to dismissal. The most important kernel of this bill is to decouple the notion of the staff evaluation with the process of dismissal for those teachers that just need additional improvement. And it explicitly says so in the law. The introduced version, there are some issues that people had raised, and those had been taken into account. And the staff analysis correctly points out there's an ambiguity about a new term, and the addition of the word unprofessional conduct clarifies that point. Also, the technical suggestion clarifies that it's in relation to teaching methods of when somebody should be mandatorily referred to a PAR program as opposed to issues, other types of issues related to conduct. The bill also importantly provides an illustrative list of several multiple measures in which under current law could be used for looking at student progress that's already required to be incorporated in all certificated staff evaluations, including 10 additional items that are not single test score items, to clarify that there are many ways where student progress can be evaluated and considered in the evaluation and assessment of certificated staff. So for those reasons, and the very important reason that there's an opportunity with additional resources to prioritize those to help struggling staff, and make sure that in doing so, in a process of identifying the staff, they're not being put under this position of being part of a PAR program that says you're going to end up at the end of the line going to dismissal. But rather, we're there to help you, we're to provide resources and help you to get better so you can be a journey-level, effective educator educating California's children.
Thank you. Mira Morton here on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce, also pleased to support this measure. And I'm here in part on behalf of employers who are interested in ensuring that every student in California has a high-quality teacher and a first-class education, but also as a former middle school teacher who knows that the job of being in the classroom and working with students is the most important job you can possibly have, and knowing that teachers need feedback. And evaluation is not just about punitive measures and getting people out of the classroom. It is about making sure you're providing meaningful feedback to teachers and help and meaningful support and resources to help them do a better job and to ensure that their students succeed. And I never felt that I had adequate knowledge of how my students were really doing. Like, what does that actually look like, and what does that look like from multiple directions other than my own assessment? So I always felt that I could use more feedback, and I didn't view more feedback as punitive. I viewed it as helpful. And I think the part of AB 1495 that requires we have multiple measures is critical to that. You give teachers multiple forms of feedback about how their students are doing, and if you don't assess how they're doing and how their students are doing, how can you know who needs help and in what areas they need help? And this bill addresses both of those important needs, and so we are pleased to support it.
Members of the public in support. Please.
Brad Strong, Children Now in support.
Brian Rivas on behalf of the Education Trust West in support.
Brett Barley on behalf of Students First in support.
Ben Austin, Students Matter in support.
That's all the, no more persons in support. If we could have the witnesses in opposition come forward. I'm sorry?
Not opposed. We don't have an official position, but we'd like to articulate support.
Okay, thank you. No official position. Thank you. Next.
So, can I say my name for the record, please?
Go ahead.
Leilani Aguinaldo Yee on behalf of Los Angeles Unified School District. While we don't have an official
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Preston, Association of California School Administrators. We're leaning towards support.
Stacy Smith.
Any other person
support?
I'm sorry. Anybody else in support? Thank you. The opposition, if we have any witnesses in opposition, they come forward. And members of the public in opposition, if they could line up at the microphone now so we could expedite things. You may proceed.
Hi, I'm simply Norma Sanchez on behalf of California Teachers Association, and I'm introducing two of our California Teachers of the Year, and you will have a press release announcing that they are from Tom Torlakson, California Teachers of the Year.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Donnell and members of the committee. I am Erin Roselli, a teacher from Panorama Elementary in the Orange Unified School District. I've been teaching kindergarten for the past 7 years, and I spent the first half of my teaching career in special education. I am here to speak in opposition of this bill with amendments. This year I have the honor of being named a 2015 California Teacher of the Year along with 4 of my colleagues. This distinction came after a rigorous evaluation process. The application submitted in August required me to express my teaching philosophy, define how I create an effective learning environment, describe student engagement strategies used in my classroom, explain how I differentiate instruction to meet the needs of all learners, and communicate how I include stakeholders in a child's education. Following this extensive application, my classroom was visited to see all of these descriptions in action, and then I participated in an interview. You will notice that student outcomes and progress were not included in this evaluation. I understand the evaluation process because I have been through a rigorous evaluation. The focus of this evaluation was on the components of my practice that are critically important for student learning and thus teacher effectiveness. This proposal is an attack on teachers. The goal of any evaluation system is to provide relevant and constructive feedback to support continual development as a professional educator. When relevant, valid evaluations are regularly conducted, the feedback provided allows teachers to use this information to inform their instruction. This proposal presents a deficit model, which focuses on identifying two categories of unsatisfactory performance without providing appropriate methods for improving teaching and learning. Student learning is not at the forefront of this proposal. This proposal is an attack on collective bargaining. The only stakeholders who will be held accountable for the LCAP are me and my fellow classroom teachers. I am being evaluated on student programs identified in my LCAP. My evaluation will now be based on my students' achievements on programs over which I had no control. This is an evaluation on programs, not on student learning. If I were to receive an unsatisfactory evaluation, my professional development will be dictated by that same LCAP. This is not differentiating support to meet my needs or the needs of a teacher. Instead, he or she may be receiving additional training in something that will not impact practice and, again, will not impact student learning. If the attempt of the maker of this bill is to create an evaluation system to foster teacher learning to positively impact student growth and achievement, with all due respect, this bill has missed the mark. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you. Next witness.
Good afternoon, Chairman O'Donnell, members of the committee. My name is Amy Laughlin. I have been teaching kids here in California for 17 years, and I am also your 2015 California Teacher of the Year. I am here speaking in opposition to the bill today. I am a reading intervention teacher. I teach in a small district in Anaheim, and actually, Mrs. Kim, you represent the families I teach, and I can assure you they're quite excited that I had the opportunity to be here and speak today. I strongly believe I should go back. I have the honor of teaching these kids in kindergarten through 6th grade who struggle in reading every single day. I have the honor of teaching them the magic of reading. I teach roughly 100 children a day. So this is an important issue, which brings me here today. I strongly believe the goal of any evaluation system is to strengthen the knowledge, skill, and practice of teachers solely to improve student achievement and learning. As a teacher and as a mother, I count on that. The teachers in California have spent a lot of time developing principles for an effective and meaningful teacher evaluation system. We have 17 principles that we have in our teacher evaluation framework that we feel benefit kids. An evaluation system must be collectively bargained, developed, and implemented with teacher participation. Any evaluation must be differentiated and address the varying assignments of teachers. Teachers like myself, who I'm not a classroom teacher, I'm a pull-out resource teacher. Any evaluation system must include evidence of teaching and student learning from multiple sources. Any evaluation system must include relevant and constructive feedback and consider complexities of teaching and student learning that are outside of a teacher's control. Any evaluation system should be based on a set of standards of professional practice and include opportunities for peer involvement. All evaluators must have extensive training, and evaluation tools must be research-based. All evaluation components and procedures must be transparent, and data must be kept confidential. Most of these principles we have found are embedded in AB 575 and SB 499 that were addressed last week. They are, however, not reflected in this bill. The bottom line is we need to ask, does this improve teaching and learning? How are highly effective teachers like ourselves, how are we engaged and challenged to better our practice? How are new and struggling teachers supported to improve their effectiveness in a profession that they are so passionate about? AB 1495 does nothing to create a fair, practical, no-nonsense evaluation system and does not ensure student growth. This piece of legislation isn't good for me as a teacher, and it's not good for my students who matter the most. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Members of the public in opposition.
Ron Rapp, California Federation of Teachers. We've recently taken an opposed position on this bill, but we're willing to work with Dr. Weber and her staff to address our concerns. Thank you.
Luciano Ortiz, second grade teacher. Being a model for my second grade students, I oppose the bill.
Steve Henderson, California School Employees Association, in opposition.
Peter Manette, kindergarten teacher, Penn Valley Elementary School District. I oppose this bill. This is not helpful, not now.
I'm Chris Cohen. I'm a K-5 fifth grade prep teacher who rearranged her schedule to my lunches and my preps so that I could be here to oppose this bill.
Melissa Rosnack, first grade teacher in Brentwood. I oppose the bill.
Claire Key, Mount Diablo Unified School District. Opposed.
Linda Ortega, second grade teacher at a Title I school, and I do assess my students weekly, and they look forward to their spelling test results.
Jim Vaughn, alternative ed high school teacher in Pittsburgh. I oppose.
Cecily Meyer Cruz, Los Angeles Unified School District, and I oppose this bill.
Brandon Dorsey, first grade teacher, Fremont Unified. I oppose this bill.
Erica Jones, kindergarten teacher, South Los Angeles. I oppose this bill.
Pat Mazzulli, high school science teacher in Fontana Unified School District, humbly exercising my right to participate in the democratic process by opposing this bill.
Humbly.
Bill Murphy, second grade teacher, Livermore Unified, and I oppose this bill.
Amy Vadunas, fifth grade teacher, Cupertino Union, and I oppose this bill.
Susan Jorgensen is a government teacher. I'm demonstrating civic engagement to my government students and meeting Common Core standards by doing so.
And you oppose it?
Cheryl Cook-Callio, government teacher, Fremont Unified, 39 years. I'm exercising the same rights I encourage my students in participating in government and being here today, and I oppose.
David Eliezer, another government teacher in Martinez Unified School District, alternative education, and I am exercising my political rights by opposing this bill.
Anita Johnson, Mount Diablo Education Association. Oppose.
Ann McCaughey, Stockton teachers in a Title I district, and I oppose.
Leslie Littman, William S. Hart District, and I oppose.
Liz Esquivel, Waterman, I oppose. I teach fourth grade California history, so I will be teaching this lesson tomorrow.
My name is Shantaine Fauntleroy, and I've been teaching physical education for 9 years in the Hayward Unified School District, and I always exercise, and I oppose this bill.
Bob Donovan, teacher in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District for over 30 years. I oppose this bill until our state legislators are evaluated in the same way.
Charles Shannon, Orinda Union School District, second grade teacher. In our district, we have a rigorous evaluation system that our administrators do, and we oppose this bill.
I'm Ann Katzberg from San Ramon Valley, and I represent the teachers as the president. I am on full release. I work with our district. We negotiate an evaluation process that is based on inquiry for our teachers, and it cultivates a growth model. I oppose this bill.
Dale Kennedy, Kings Canyon, one who has to drive home for 4 more hours after this and grade papers that are left over from the other day when I was in class, and prepare for tomorrow's school day so that the kids get an awesome education like they do in the state of California. The bill.
All right.
Kenneth Kent, Antioch Unified. Tying performance to student test scores adds a disincentive for teachers to work with students in struggling areas. I oppose this bill.
Sarah Savakul, Antioch Education Association. I oppose the bill.